Keyboard Exchange International.
Hi folks, I'm Jim Huss here at Keyboard Exchange International with Mr. Grant, our senior technician here in, where are we? Sanford, Florida.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day here in Sanford, and Grant, a lot of people like to come to Central Florida, go to Disney, go to the Space Coast, go to SeaWorld, all those places, but the musicians in the family come here and say they like this better than Disney World. That might be a little hyperbole, but that's what they really say, anyway. So Grant, we've been doing this a long time, and you've been part of the team for long enough to know that the Leslie speakers don't always come with the organ, because when they were sold originally, sometimes they came with a Hammond PR40 speaker. And there's a whole narrative about Mr. Hammond and Mr. Leslie, and that's a whole separate topic you can Google and learn all about. But for today, for the very first time, this is like a very first time, we're going to offer to sell some of our Leslies after you and Bill rebuild them.
No.
Yeah.
The first time?
It's the first time, because like for years people call and say, hey, I want a Leslie speaker, mine's not working. And I said, well, we don't even have enough Leslie speakers to fit all these organs. Like Bill on camera, if you can just swing around and show all these B3s under plastic. These are like mint condition now that they've come out of people's homes, and then we send them back to Roger to clean them up, and these are still waiting for you and Bill to go into the electronic shop and make the insides look as beautiful as the outsides. So we've acquired enough Leslies, and behind you there, you're standing in front of a plethora of Leslie speakers.
Nice word.
Thank you. I looked that up in the dictionary this morning, and I said, maybe I could use that word, Anyway, we've got a bunch of them, and Rodney's got 4 more at the refinishing shop, and there's 7 or 8 more that are ready to go to the refinisher. So we can now offer Leslie speakers, and then I want you to tell people what we do when a Leslie gets in here. We take all the parts out, and you can explain all that. But what were you saying? You mentioned something like we just don't want to sell all the Leslies, because then we'd be back in the same boat.
Right. So we talked about this at length in the last few days, and we're especially looking for people who would like to trade in a Leslie, so that we can receive a Leslie cabinet of 122 or 147 size, or something that can possibly even be made into a 122 or a 147 or 145, 142, the standard 122, 147 models, because we have a guy we know a guy, Reggie,
know a guy who knows a guy
who does a lot of cabinet work for us, and he can rebuild the middle shelves and do pretty much anything we want, as long as the cabinet is large enough to hold a 15-inch speaker and the horns and everything. We can use those cabinets, even if it's a sort of an oddball model, as you might say, that someone's trading in. We could still go with that. But we don't want to sell all of our Leslie cabinets, because then we will be in a poor position of not having any Leslies to go with the organs.
Yeah, we always need to keep enough to match up to the organ. So we'll start pairing these off with what we have by color and see which ones remain that are truly available. So, yeah.
But every Leslie we get, of course, we gut it and completely replace everything inside, either with new or something that's rebuilt. So we take the backs off of here. All of these, the moving parts you see, all of that comes out. The amp comes out. We clean up the inside of the cabinet if there's any work that needs to be done to it. If the cabinet has loosened up over the years and it's a bit wonky and wants to rattle and things, we'll take it to our cabinet guy and have him shore that stuff up so that we don't have any kind of rattles and buzzes and things like that. Then we oil all the wood. We replace the motors with rebuilt motor stacks. We replace the bearings. Sometimes we replace the upper horns if they're missing reflectors, or we clean up the existing one. And of course, we rebuild the Leslie amp.
New tungstol tubes.
We put new tubes in the amp, and we put new belts on. And we put in brand new 15-inch Jensen speakers, woofers, and a reconed original Jensen V21 high-frequency driver.
Sometimes we put an Atlas in there.
Sure.
If we're working with an older organ or somebody who wants a little more high-end. That's one modification that can be done. I mean, the V21s are still the top of the chart in terms of what sounds the best to us. But if we have an organ that sounds great, but we want a customer or we want it to be a little brighter, and we've already turned up all the treble and tone controls that we can adjust, and there's nothing left to do, then we can put in a substitute driver. And we use Atlas drivers sometimes, and they're really cool.
Yeah,
they'll jump right out at you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, a little too cool.
Yeah. Well, then if it's too cool.
Yeah, they could be a little
too hot,
bright. Yeah.
too bright. Then you have the ability to go back inside the organ and just tweak it down.
Sure.
So these things we've learned over the course of many decades. This stuff is all adjustable if you know what to do, right? So.
Sure.
Yeah. So. Some of these Grant, I'm telling you, they look like brand new. They really do.
Yeah.
You said we oil the cabinets, but if they're scratched up to the point where they need to go to the refinisher, because if they come in and they look good or they need refinishing, you still take everything out. And but the ones that are really kind of like on the rough side, too many scratches, people put stuff on top, scratched it, moved it around a little bit, we can make them look like new. In fact, some people say they look better than new, and they certainly sound better than new after you guys do all your tweaking and new parts based on the stuff we've learned. We've studied this a lot and have had a lot of practical experience. So, I think I'll go over here and I'll just play a chord on this B3, and then we'll get Bill to come in and get a visual, Bill, of not only what the fact that the upper horn is spinning, but what the sound does after you put it on fast. And you want to explain the Doppler effect while I'm getting over here?
No. I don't. No, the Doppler effect is something most people are familiar with when you hear an ambulance going down the street or a fire truck. As it approaches you, it seems to get higher in pitch, and as it goes away from you, it gets lower in pitch. So it'll come in going, and it gets lower and lower as it goes away. Well, the same kind of thing happens with the spinning rotors here. You have, because the rotor is spinning from pointing away from you to pointing toward you, it actually gets a little sharper. The pitch goes up just a hair. Mostly you hear that it gets louder because the horn is now facing you. But there is a little bit of a pitch change. There's a little Doppler effect. But it's also, it can be masked perhaps by the vibrato chorus effect from the organ itself. But generally what we have here is a is a tremolo effect from the Leslie. You're getting something where it gets louder and softer. But there is a little bit of Doppler effect, which is affecting the pitch.
Yeah, the Hammond brochures used to talk about a train going down the track, and if you're standing near the railroad track, the sound of the train doesn't change. It's just your perception of the sound as you did that marvelous ambulance going. So, Grant's a master of sound effects around here. So let me just play a chord. I'll take my foot off the volume pedal, and then the only change you're going to hear is the speed change from chorale or slow to fast. Okay, so I added in a few more drawbars there too, but I hope people will get the idea of what a real Leslie sounds like and what it looks like, and the fact that here at Keyboard Exchange we've gotten a group of great people together to do all the necessary things. There are a lot of different disciplines involved. You know, you've got your electronics, your mechanical, your wood refinishing, your woodworking. There's a lot of people involved in this process to get it to this point where we can now offer a B3 with a matching Leslie, or a Leslie, especially if you have one to trade in. Grant, you were making that point. We might sell a few without selling an organ at the same time, but mainly we want to provide this service where you don't have to keep putting patches on the Leslie you have. You just trade it in, get one of these, and then we'll put that whole team of people fixing up your old Leslie and offering it to someone else in the future. So thanks for your time and attention, and I'm Jim Huss from Keyboard Exchange signing off, and with Mr. Grant, senior technician, one of the finest technicians I've ever had the pleasure of working with. He and Bill,
that was nice.
They do a great job. You guys do a great job. You don't have your hat on because it doesn't fit you well after I say stuff. Thanks for your time and attention, folks. Thanks for watching our video, and thank you also for helping keep the Hammond Tone Wheel B3 organ alive. We couldn't do all this work that we do here without you. And it would also help greatly if you could subscribe, like, ask for notifications for when we have new videos. That would be a big help for us. So we thank you once again. I'm signing off for now, but we will be back.